it's a journey. It is not by impartation. If you have an impartation, it's going to be to move you either forward or to get you started. But we cannot assume that a one-off contact makes you a high achiever. It's a journey. You must prepare for it. And it's a lifelong journey. You know, do you think about people who began to minister at a very young age? You know, sometimes it's not very easy to see people. I used to hear about Rostomoranta. Many years back, I used to hear about him when he was 7 or 8 years. He began to preach. And my worry at that point was, how long is this guy going to preach? Is he going to maintain this capacity? So what are you going to do? And you know, just like that. But it's a lifelong journey. Whatever you have seen of your life today is just the beginning point of what God can do with you. But if you don't see that it's a journey, you may just assume that you have arrived when you are still just about to start your journey. Life achievement or high achievers are those who recognize that the pathway to high achievement is a journey. Two, it is about attaining God's plan for your life. And that the plan of God for your life is unspeakable. It's beyond human comprehension. Say, no eyes have seen, no ears have heard what God has prepared in stock for those who love, and you are one of them. Nobody can fathom. He's a mighty creator. He made you in such a unique and wonderful way. You can't even imagine it. If your eyes is open in any dimension to why God made you, your capacities, what he wants to do with you, then you'll be jumping right deep on your seat and rejoicing forever. And also have this type of fear. Lord, can I attain that? Can I ever become it? So if I wake up here today and I tell you that seated here, God is going to use you to raise 500,000 people sponsored in Harvard in your lifetime. That out of the 500 million homeless people around the world, God will use you to house over 20 million people. Does he even look through? Because when God tells you what he wants to do, you can't even understand it. But Strive Masiyiwa, as at last year, has 250,000 Africans on scholarship. He was in a church sitting in Zimbabwe like you're sitting down today. But he was hearing that. God spoke to him. But he was looking like, is it possible? Is it possible? But God did it. 250,000. Some of them schooling in Harvard, in the best universities of the world. High class education. What can God not do with you? You are just the person not seeing yourself the way God sees it. But if you see it, then you can know that there is no other achievement you need in life but just to be what he has made you to be. I am comfortable being what God wants me to be. So today we dealt with creative vision, and today we are looking at high capacity. Say it together with me, high capacity. Say it louder, please, high capacity. So in verse 4 of our text yesterday, don't forget I read the whole of Isaiah chapter 61, but today I'm going to take just a verse and then read from other Bible verses as well as we get in. So verse 4 says, they will rebuild the ancient ruins. They will restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Now you will see that those words there are verbs, action words. And they are words that are tied to mastery. Those are masterpieces or legendary actions. That they are going to do something. They will rebuild ancient ruins. Anybody who is able to do that must be a masterful, skillful, entrepreneurial worker. Someone who is able to rebuild what other people couldn't do. It's talking about expertise. It's talking about capacity. That's action word. He said they are going to restore the places that have been long devastated. So if God is going to use someone here amongst us to get into the government and bring Nigeria back on track, where it used to be that 1 naira was equal to 1 pound and 1 naira was equal to $2. And today a naira has so fallen in value, and of course the value people have for our country. But I heard Papa E. Adeboye prophesy once that a time is going to come that people will be looking for you to see your green passport, because God will exalt this nation. There are a set of people who interpret that vision, and those set of people are you and me. That the oil of God falls on us in such a way that we can rebuild, we can restore, we can bring back long devastated cities to what God originally planned for them. So it's a masterful work. It requires a lot of capacity. So if you are going to bring to reality the big dreams that God has, then it needs to take us a lot of capacity. We call it high capacity. Don't worry. The video, the Lord has taken over. Thank God that the people have watched it. Don't worry. Verse 4 says, young men without any physical defect, handsome, showing aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's palace. He was to teach them the language and literature of the Babylonians. And that's important. The story is that these guys had gone into captivity, and then the king of Babylon was trying to look out for people who can do special assignments for him. And he said, look among the captives you have and look for the high flyers, those who have high capacity. And he gave them considerations, because Israel has a heritage of transferring value and virtue to the generation one after the other. So they knew that anybody that came from a royal family was likely going to have the virtues, the character, the skills of royalty with them. They say go to the royal family, but beyond that, look out for men who are handsome, who don't have any defect, who are apt to learn, who are skilled. But please let me just read that again. Who are apt to learn, aptitude for every kind of learning, well informed, quick to understand, and qualified to serve in the king's office. So important. Exodus chapter 18 and verse 21. When Jethro came to advise Moses that, you see, you're going to weary yourself and weary these people, he said, you know what, you're going to look out for capable men. Exodus chapter 18 and verse 21. Say, when you are going to look out for people who can take after you, look for capable men of competence and character, high character, morality, character. Because character, where your charisma can take you to, only character can sustain you there. It's a common mind or common adage or whatever that people say. But it's important that you're a person of character. And Isaac made a lot of emphasis on character. Talked about integrity, talked about honesty, and even the issue of not coming late or going late or something, or he talked about procrastination and a couple of things, your engagement with the social media. But all these things are issues of character. He said there are things that identify you in your workplace, your identity. Character. So when we say high competence, we say people of high character, high moral standing. You know, in our country here, Nigeria, we don't have people can excuse morality. Maybe I said when you have pastor. If you hear that today that this guy, all young people, you hear that this guy is going out with this girl, you don't feel anything bad. You say, really? I in the trial, the girl fine, sir. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And even if you see pastor wake up now and say, come out here, you boy, this brother was, anyway, they don't do that anyway. A friend of mine went to a church, and then she said while they were sitting in the service, the pastor called out a brother, and the brother came, and they said, you see this brother? He had committed fornication and all kinds of things, and said, church, stretch forth your hand and hand him over to the devil to torment his flesh. And so she was crying inside the church. She said she was shedding tears. A whole church of more than 3,000 people stretched forth their hands towards a brother and handed him over to Satan to deal with his body. And I know that some of us, when you just sit there and just say, waiting and do now, nobody live from the waiting day. Everybody they do them now. Like it won't be problem. You know that there's a way we look at morality. That someone just lied. That somebody is just somewhere with you in a car, and then somebody say, where are you? Although the person is in Gariki, the person will say, I'm in Wuse. When the guy feels, oh boy, you're on too much. But it's not a big deal. After all, he just said it's in Wuse. When somebody lifts up a contract or do all kinds of things, we see politicians that are still doing evil, or even people you know are doing bad, but you still hate them. Because somehow we have lost sense of morality here. But last year I was almost crying when I got to Willow Creek Church. If you have heard about Willow Creek, Bill Hybels. Have you ever heard about Bill Hybels? Part of Bill Hybels on leadership. If you have read much about, I walked into his facility. We were going for the GLS, and then when I got in there, I heard that the man was not going to be available because of a sexual scandal. And you know what they said? Nobody accused him of having sex out of all the ladies that came, about 8 of them. The highest one said that he grouped her. You know what is group? that he held her beyond measure. That's embraced her in a way that is suggestive. I say for waiting, Nigeria here, embrace woman. I didn't have sex, I embrace you past the normal embrace. Not even caressing. He said he grouped me. And for that reason, Bill Hybels resigned as the senior pastor of a church he founded, so that they can try the matter. Strange. But that's a society that has very high premium on morality for its leaders. But can I announce to you that the world is becoming a simple village? Nigeria and America may never have a difference in our generation because it's a global village. Morality will spread. You will now become a global figure and not a national figure, so that the things that are obtainable outside may still catch up with us here as a country. It's very, very important that you think about high character. A person of high character. Don't forget that the sisters you're messing around with today, if there's any brother here messing around with sister, they can pull you down tomorrow. They can throw you down tomorrow. At the where you are just about to be appointed something and something and something, she just comes out. I say, you know that guy? He raped me when I was in my mother's house. The story don't change. You will now be the person say it wasn't rape, it was agreement. You agreed? He say, he's a bad man. Get out of office, resign. That's what we're hearing. And you don't just near me. That's where we're getting to. There's what they call the Me Too movement. It was in the US, but now it's in Nigeria. I was shocked to hear that there's Me Too now in Nigeria, especially in Lagos. The Me Too are girls who come out to say, yes, they also did it to me. Oh, they raped me. And they are calling the men, brother are you, pastor are you, in your office is you, choir master, choir leader. In Abuja here, choir leader, a senior pastor was praying in a meeting and made an altar call for sisters people who have been heartbroken and the brothers have abused them sexually. Please come out. And as they all lined up, plenty of them came out, and he said, everybody keep quiet. So they were all praying, God renew, God restore them. But God just ministered to her and said, why don't you walk in and ask them who is the person? So she just walked in, and as she was just trying to talk to some of them, first person said, it's my choir master. Second, my choir master. Third, my choir master. Fourth, my choir master. The seventh person, my 20, my choir master. They were still telling her choir master when the choir master took off from the church and never returned back again. How can you imagine that? And the guy, for him to be the choir master of such a big church, must have been very gifted. But you see, if you're not a person of high character, you cannot be a high achiever. You can go far, but not very far. It's just a matter of time. So what we talk about by capacity, we're talking about character. The next thing we're talking about by capacity is competencies. You need to be a person who is competent in your work. Seest thou a man who is diligent in his work? Where will he stand? Before kings and not mean men. Competencies. That the skillfulness of your hand, like we read about David, is obvious to everybody. That you're a different species. Whatever they give you to do, you do it well. You do it with a sense of finesse, with perfection, with excellence. And of course that has to do with training your head, heart and hands to be in readings. Somebody become a competent person when his head, his heart and his hands are in perfect reading. One of the things I used to describe that is the drum set. If you have played the drum set before the keyboard, you will understand what I mean by that. Because a drummer most times will be playing something different with his right leg, something different with the left leg, something different with the right hand, something different with the left hand, and then you just see both of them and making one sound. A learner comes on the drum. That there is, if you never played drum before, like just done the experiment. When you come here, you'll be confused. How can this leg be doing something else? This one is doing something else. This hand is doing something. In fact, to even get one leg and one hand do different things is a big challenge. But somebody sits down there doing 4 different things, because what has happened is that he had made the sound first in his head, his heart is connected to what he's doing, and his hands have been trained to listen to what the mind and the brain and his heart is telling him to do. The same thing goes with the keyboard. Put your hands here and you're playing this. The first time I was going to be playing, oh Lord, my God, bam, bam. That's how I learned keyboard. Bam, in the Cherubim and Seraphim Church, actually, when I was in the secondary school. Bam, 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 bam. But when I had to introduce the other one to make some bass sound, of course, you know how. Then when you're playing the bass, then you suspend this one. Then you go back again, you know. Until a point when you can now do 2 of them. And then a point comes that you will still now be singing and doing the same things. That's when the person is coming to a point of competence. It is good that you can do something once, but you need to come to a point where your head, your heart, and your hands have a rhythm. That's what I'm talking about, competence. The other thing I'm talking about is authority. Somebody say authority. So capacity entails character, competence, and authority. Authority. What do you mean by authority? You need moral authority. Leaders lead by moral authority. When you lose your moral authority, that's the people trust you enough. The people trust your virtues. The people trust your leadership. The people trust what you can. The people accept your person. That's moral authority. If you don't have moral authority, you cannot be a high flyer in life. Oh, I didn't know how bad that was until I went to a place and they have told me that, you see, that pastor, now 419 pastor. As I sat down in church and listened to him, the only thing that was coming to my mind is 419. 419. 419. 419. 419. Even if everybody is falling down, the only thing that comes to my mind is what? 419. 419 pastor. Because somebody told me that. Have you ever seen somebody who know that this guy sleeps around, this guy is a womanizer, whatever you want to call it, and you see with the microphone trying to change on the altar? He just say, "God, don't suffer." For what? Why other people will be jumping in church, but in your mind they just say, what kind of a thing is this? And then if you are somebody who is really angry, you walk up to pastor and say, "Who gave this guy a microphone? I know this man. Please don't bring that friend to this church again." You know, there was a sister, let me not mention before you know the place I'm talking about. In our church, she's one of the best people. She sings like, I could see a lot of you singing here, such giftedness. So one day she had finished singing and we had a visitor in that church. He walked up to one of the pastors and said, "Wow, who is that lady that sang?" So the pastor, knowing that the lady performed so well in church, began to hype her. That's our assistant music director. Very wonderful sister. She does all kinds of things. And then the man said, "Hey, now my girlfriend, anytime I come, now me they carry him." He said, "If I saw a leader there for here, I know they come again." So I was just trying to ask you to know. Pastor didn't know how to say, "Sorry, she's not," but it was difficult. My Oga girlfriend is performing on top of the altar. One of the pastors, that my friend, when he was still an unbeliever in New York, he used to come to church and he sees the girlfriend lifting up holy hands. The person they had sex with last night. That one day he gets, "How did they do this thing?" Because he's confusing himself. How you tell they just get spiritual after all this? They say, it's embarrassing. When you lose your moral authority, you can go far but not very far. And at that point, even heavens can't help you. But I believe that God will restore someone's moral authority. The other thing you talk about is professional authority. Professional authority. Because I'm inside church, before we go to your workplace, right here in church, do you know how to do what you do well? You need a professional authority. There was a time in my church as a teenager, I learned that, "Oh Lord my God," keyboards kind of thing. So when I came back from the hostel, because I was a boarder, I will go and rent keyboard. It used to be 150 naira then. I will save money, look for money everywhere, get 150 naira. I will rent the keyboard on Saturday evening so I can play overnight, rehearse, and then go to church to play on Sunday and return it on Sunday afternoon. Now the church wasn't paying me, but one day I can't forget, I was just playing the keyboard. I think the altar was almost as high as this, and then the next hand I saw near me was my senior pastor. He just tapped me and said, "Don't you listen?" Once he just sing, he just start pressing up and down, "Can't you listen to and look for the key?" I say, with my money again that I came to help church. No, but it doesn't matter. The issue is that I didn't have the professional authority. Whether you sang key Z or I just go back to key C. Pam pam, pam pam. And I was very serious. You know, some people can be very serious doing the wrong things. Just pressing some things and just very, very active and happy. But the only bad thing about it is that you're the only person happy with yourself. Those listening to you know that this guy is out of the way. He has no professional authority to provide leadership. So one day in our church, I invited my friend. He came into Abuja. And I told him, "My friend, come to church." It was an evening service Friday. I said, "Just come. It's going to be fantastic." Because I know it used to be very nice. Unfortunately, you know, sometimes choir can disappoint you. Our choir people didn't come. It was now one sister who was going to lead praise and worship. So as he was singing, at a point I just went to my friend and said, "Sorry, that's not how it is." So because the girl will just jump from one key, the keyboard is, all of them will be confused. They will jump, all of us are confused in church. So I went and met my friend and said, "Sorry, that's not my church. What happened? This girl doesn't lead praise." I just couldn't understand. I said, "How is it that it's today that this brother came?" So, but that thing has not left me. Anytime I see her with me, I say, she don't come again, no, she don't come again, no, because she has lost the professional. Even if she's the one that taught assistant Holy Spirit, even if power moves, but this one, forget about it. My friend Pastor Fanny knows one of our brothers. Once I'm praying with him, I don't rate worship. As much as I like worship, if you raise the worship, the Spirit of God there will just vanish. Because once you just start, you just say, oh Lord my God, how excellent is your name in all. It is what is going on here? So I just say, no. So once I'm praying with him, even if the worship is coming, I just rebuke it. I just say, Father, let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus we pray. Because he has lost the professional authority. So as much as you need your moral authority, you need the professional authority, and then the last one I'm talking about is the spiritual authority. There are people who come in and they perform. The good thing that I like about church this evening is the presence of God in some of the things you are doing. So you feel the presence of God in the singing, in the worship, in the dancing, in what? Yeah, that's it. But there are some of them who also minister that you know that this one is like it's coming from somewhere. So he has good professional authority. He may have some good moral authority, but lacks the power of the Spirit. He doesn't touch any. It's only those people who came to jive in church and jump up and down that can understand. Say, wow, that guy is very good. But spiritually sensitive people. We also invited a guest minister, and then we brought a particular sister who ministered. This one is a well-known sister. When she finished ministering, myself, I was already shaking. I was like, wonderful. And then another brother came in and took a simple worship song, and the atmosphere changed. The professional sisters sang professionally. We were excited. We were happy for the money we invested to bring her. But when the young brother came in and took the microphone and took us from the ordinary realms where we were, then we knew that there was a difference somewhere. There's something about spiritual authority. And when you find it in a church in Asaba, one day a sister had gone back, something was moving around her body. So she went to the hospital. What they were praying for is so that the doctors can trace the thing so they can operate her. So God answered the prayer of the pastor. The doctors located something on Friday where it was and now gave her medication and said, please come on Monday morning for your operation. But Sunday she just came to church to do a final prayer that God will make the operation successful. And suddenly it was time for choir to minister. And the keyboardist, as he sounded the first note, the thing jumped out of her body. First note on the keyboard, bam! Because he was a professional, but there was something beyond the professional world. It was the supernatural hand of God upon their lives. It's my prayer for you that you not only have moral authority, you not only have professional authority, but that God will release upon you the spiritual authority that will make you a high achiever in the name of Jesus. So I need to run for time. So high capacity. Why do I say high capacity? 3 things I want to share with you. One is that it is a high calling, therefore it requires a high capacity. So Apostle Paul said in Philippians 3 and verse 14 that I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of God. The calling you have, the vocation you have, the plan of God upon your life is a high calling. Therefore you need high capacity. That's what Apostle Paul said. I press. I put in efforts. I develop my competencies. I develop my character. I develop my authority so that I can lay hold. The king's business is a high calling. And every high calling requires high capacity. The second thing is that you need high capacity to conquer the VUCA world. VUCA. V-U-C-A. Some of you must have read that. VUCA means, the U.S. Army in the 1990s, they discovered that word, and it's a normal thing that professionals use in their training. We use it in our professional organization. And VUCA means that the world is volatile, the world is uncertain, the world is complex, and the world is ambiguous. So the V-U-C-A are acronyms. If you can type it on your phone, of course, this is the age of Google. Just put VUCA, you can find out V-U-C-A. But they say that the world is very, very volatile. What means that the rate of change, the rate at which things change, innovations come, is beyond the ordinary. There were times that you can predict them. that you can predict what will happen if you do this, if you do that. You know, there were times that you can predict that if you have a conference and that you preach like this, these people will give their life to Christ, and therefore this will happen to a believer. There were times you can predict that when a believer really gives his life to Christ, he begins to live a high moral standard. But you know, in our age, you can't predict that. Is that also? Recently, a sister, I was sharing with my friends, I said, somebody came to visit me in Delta State in my hotel room in the evening. So we finished, but I felt it was late and for a sister to walk alone. So I just said, okay, why don't I walk you? But I forgot, I didn't remember well. It was when I came out, I knew that around that hotel, prostitutes hang around there. But the difference was that there were prostitutes nowadays don't dress so badly. As in, it's as bad as it is before, but what we think is no more bad is that we see it every day, even inside church. It's not that they don't dress how they used to dress before. It's the same way. But our people have normalized it, including our wives, have normalized it that you don't even know the difference between a Christian and a prostitute anymore. So it was when we were walking that I now said, wait a minute, before they say pastor, because they know me that I preach there. I said, who will be flashing me light by this time of the night? Then I turned to the sister who I was following. Trust our sisters. She has dressed very corporately but quite tight. So how I was going to be announcing that this one is not among them. I didn't know how to say she's not among them, and I'm not carrying a prostitute, but I was just saying, Father, please, whoever has seen me, defend me. Father, whoever has seen me, defend me. You know, I didn't do anything bad. You know, that was my prayer. I was doing all those because sometimes we do not know, we can't separate unbelievers from believers now. Is that not so? Some years back, I think that day when people gave their life to God, you could tell a Christian by appearance. But now, there are good Christians who you can't tell by appearance. So that the judgment, the parameters have changed. That's what they mean by the world is changing in different ways. And the VUCA world, I want to mention a few things that is upcoming, that affects us as young people. It's been said that 80% of the work that young people will do is not yet in existence. Everyone who is born from year 2000, they are saying that 80% of their job is not yet in existence. That all the job titles we have today will likely phase out in the next 31 years. And so when you are not sure of the kind of job you are going to do, you know, there were days that you shout and you say, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a chemical engineer, I want new job titles, new paradigm. You know, when you have manless car and you have robotics and you have artificial intelligence, of course it alters every other paradigm that you can think about. So as you're sitting and looking at me, young people, in the next 20, 30 years, the things we used to know to be job today will no longer be in existence. And if that's the kind of world we are living in, we will need people of high competence to navigate the change. They said that 50% of the work will be done by robots by 2050. The next 31 years, 50% of the work we do now will be done by robots. I think I did a snap. You know, FIFA on the 26th of this month released a report that they are going to replace their linesmen with robots. I just saw that. Linesmen with robots. So it's a technology that very soon what you see moving along the line will no longer be people carrying flags, but robots. Precision, because they're looking for precision. Go to bank tellers. Very soon they will not have job again. Is that also? Because I can pay money in the ATM now. I go to an ATM, put my money inside, and I go. In some parts of the world, you can cash your check from an ATM. So you don't need to get to the bank. Just throw your check in, it rolls through and brings out the money, the value for your check. You go to some countries, we don't have fuel attendants. Because you go in there, put your card, put how much you want to buy, carry your nozzle, put it in your car. If for any reason you call a fuel attendant, you pay close to $10 to $20 for somebody to put it into your car. Why do you need to do that? So I also envisage that in the years to come, 50% of the job that we do, of course, Africa is always a little bit backward. But I expect that at least by 2050, 30% of the work done in Africa will be done by robots or artificial intelligence. And some of us, the reality is that you will lose that job. Already they say in Asia, by 2017, they had 9 million jobs had been turned over to robots. 9 million. It doesn't mean that 9 million people lost their job, but it means that 9 million people has gotten They had to get another kind of job, a new job description, but I think some of them must have lost their job. So that if you are going to compete in a VUCA world, then you need to think about the realities that you are going to encounter in one form or the other. The VUCA world says that knowledge expires every 40 years. Knowledge expires every 40 years. But in medical science, innovation happens every 6 months. And the simple example I give to people is, think about the drugs we used to use for malaria 2 years ago. Do you see it again? Huh? You know, how it started when I was small. My mom would just go to one chemist and say, okay, mix malaria for my son. They will carry one, put one, chloroquine, put. You remember that mixture? Like 7 to 8 tablets. You just throw it to your mouth and drink, then malaria is gone. But very soon we began to receive other things. The queens are phased out, the temas are coming in, all kinds of things are coming in now. Just one single drug is enough for malaria. The same way that the knowledge that you have, teachers, and in fact, there's a book called The 100-Year Life. You can look for it and read if you can. But one of the things that they say is that you must learn to reinvent yourself every 15 years. Some of us, when we finish school, I had told myself that, when I was writing my last exam, in the university, you'll be very excited. No more exam. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. There's one joy that there's no more exam. You're drawing for your Bible. Yeah. But can I announce to you, some of you are there, they say, once you're getting to 60 years, please return back to school and start a fresh course or do something better to refresh your memory. But every one of us who are young, every 15 years, your life needs to be reinvented. Before, every organization in the world, globally, will do their vision statement once every 10 years. It reduced to 5 years. Currently, it is between 1 and 3 years that they review their vision statement and their goals. The world is having a rapid change. And it will take only people of high capacity to navigate the change, to understand the change, to fit into the change. It doesn't matter how much, there are new technologies that come out in phone, but once you're used to the Android system and you're a master in Android, there's actually no phone you cannot operate. It's just a matter of time, because you have gained capacity to manage the Android phones. I challenge us that the reason why high achievers need to find high capacity is that we're living in a volatile, complex, uncertain, and ambiguous world. And it takes high capacity to navigate them. One of the things they've seen in the world that we live in today is that they said those of us who are born from year 2000 upwards have the chance of living up to 100 years, between 100 and 110 years. So that there's a global change. The life expectancy currently in Nigeria is 54 years for male and 55.5 for female or something like that. So that if you have lived up to 54 years in Nigeria, if you are here, then they are finished expecting of you. Everything is just keep thanking the Lord. That's the implication. But they are saying that those of us who are born from year 2000 have the capacity to live up to 100 to 110 years. And that's beginning to help the people to think differently. They are saying that retirement age of 60 years can no longer work because you will have another 50 years. How can you use 50 years to be eating retirement money? Who does that? You even be bored at home. So now in America, they have begun an organization that re-engages people who have retired above 60s. One of the last times I went there, the people you see on the aircraft that attend to you are old people. These are air hostesses. One of my flights I took within the US was old people, old women, old man. Like at least they should be above 65. They were the attendants. Because they're trying to re-engage them because their life cannot just be wasted. If I'm going to live up to 110 years, how can I sit down at home? It was our parents who retired at 60 years, and they know that if they live up to 70 in a miracle. If they get to 80, you just start celebrating everywhere. So recently my dad was sick, and I told somebody my dad is sick. They said, how old is he? I said 85. Sorry, he has tried now. I almost slapped the person. He said, he has tried. In fact, one of them went on openly. I just said, my dad is sick. He said, how old? 85. Please release him to go. Release him to go. Release him to go. I said, can you imagine? How can somebody? I mean, because the implication is that they don't try. In Nigeria, 85 years, he don't try. Leave and making the grass, making the grass, and don't try. So if you are retired at 60, maybe you can manage his gratuity for 20 years. But young people, you who are listening to me, teenagers, if you are here in the house, you may likely not have, you may need to switch a new job. They say after 40 years, reinvent yourself, and after 60, change your vocation. The world we are living in is becoming rapid, and it takes people of high capacity to navigate the VUCA world. The third thing I will say about why high capacity is that you need high capacity to stand out. Tell your neighbor, stand out. Again, I go back to give you a little more statistics that is frightening both to me. Do you know that currently in Nigeria, we have 150 million people below 35 years? 150 million people below 35 years. In fact, it is said that we have like 100 million people who are 18 years and below. 100 million. Now, that is a big, startling reality. I told people that we have not seen crime yet. Crime is just starting. Except we think of how to engage this generation. Except a miracle happens somewhere. With our poverty-stricken area. But that's not just the only thing. The prediction from a world-acclaimed body is that we're going to increase by 51% between now and 2050. So we're not going to reduce. Every other continent in the world is coming down in their population. Only sub-Saharan Africa will increase by 51%. So it means that by 2050, what I'm calling population now, we should expect that we should have like 150 million people who are below 18 years. But the startling thing again is that in 2017, JAM, people who registered for JAM were 1.8 million people. How many people got admission? 250,000. Do you understand that? 250,000 out of 1.8 million. So you have 1 million, how many? 650,000 people who need to return back to join another set that would have emerged. It will take people of high capacity, high standing, to stand out. Otherwise, you will join the crowd. You will be scratching the ground like ants. It will take only eagles who can soar and go above the normal, go above the average. Nigeria, you need to stand out, brothers. And that's the message for today, that you need God to do what only Him can do and take us out of where we are. Amen. The other reality with young people, they said that young graduates, of course, the unemployment rate in Nigeria has risen now to 23.1. So that's to say, out of every 10 people, 2 people are unemployed. At least minimum. But for youths, they say for youths, people who have gone to school, 36.5% are jobless. So that there was a year that when you go to school, like my mother, she told me that when she just finished, is it standard 6 or something? I don't know what it means now. She just got job. She just started teaching. She followed all her education. They were calling her miss everywhere. In fact, there was job everywhere looking for people to come in. Anybody who told you now that when you finish going to school, you will get job, you must know that he's lying, right? It's a 50-50 chance. Is that not so? It's 50-50. It's good that the only way you can be sure is that you are a high capacity graduate, not a high certificate graduate. Nobody's looking for paper anymore. Because if you come to my office and say I made the first class, you can't intimidate me. I sit here and I ask you a question. I don't care what you're carrying your paper. I want to see what you have on your inside. It needs to be high capacity people to navigate. The implication is that out of every 10 people who graduate, 4 of them will not get job. You need to stand out. You need to stand out, because new industries are not coming. Rather, industries are closing. After reading one article recently, I almost relocated from Nigeria. I just almost lost one, but thank God for my conviction to pray for this country. Say startups cannot, but the simple way, anyway, but I think the summary of that is that any high-tech startup in Nigeria will not survive. That the thriving industries in Nigeria are food industries, salt, Dangote salt, flour, cement. They are the things that make money. Because that Nigerians spend an average of 60% of all their income on food. In fact, when they went to the north and the one state, they said they spend 121% of their income on food. So somebody has not finished chopping food, then he has not paid his rent, then it is now for him to come. I hear some people say, let Mercedes come and assemble car. How many people can buy brand new Mercedes? The tell you say no day for market. When people are going to price to Kumbo, I mean, which one good? Where from Germany? From where? So how many kilometers? Bring 100,000. How many people can walk up and count 17 million to buy? If you even go home and tell your mother you use 17 million to buy car, it just give you a heavy slap. Wow! Stupid, foolish boy for Nigeria. But people are doing that outside the country. That's a lie. Just normal. I went to Abu Dhabi for a meeting once, And when I got there, I went to pick something. When I was pricing this inner vest for children, it looked cheap, so I just collected. I said, wow, this is a good deal, this is a good deal, better than Nigeria. Then I mistakenly went to where they're selling this watch. So I just was pricing like a typical, how much is that, how much is that? $1,500. I said, oh, right, okay. So I was trying to look for the one that is $100, didn't see anyone there. And then small girls were coming and paying $1,000. And they looked their hand like, say, now money that they pay, so I need money, $1,000, 360,000, buy this watch. I said, God forbid batting. The simple thing is not that God is forbidding batting, but I've never seen that kind of money for this watch. I never thought of winning at 360,000 this watch. So if you now say you want to start a business of importing high-class wristwatch, now your house, inside your house, and few people. Nigeria, they said in that statistics, has only 12,300 millionaires in Nigeria. In the whole of Nigeria, we have only 12,300 millionaires. Millionaires are, the global benchmark for millionaires are in dollars. $1 million is 360, at least about 360 million. Only 12,300 Nigerians have that kind of money, both by equity, asset, net worth. 12,000. A city in Mumbai, India, a third world country that they will call it. Only Mumbai has 33,000 millionaires, one city in India. America has 17 million millionaires. Nigeria has 12,300. He said that the state of California in America is richer than the 54 countries of Africa put together. So that I only say that you need to stand out. Something needs to happen to us. Otherwise, we are doomed not to fly high. But we need high capacity to navigate the difficulties and stand out. Yesterday I was listening to a Nigerian who is now a member of the House in the UK. She's just like a parliamentarian, just almost like a House of Rep member or something. Nigerians are doing great, but they have to stand out before they can do great. And I believe that this church, God is raising high flyers. God is giving you high capacity. In the name of Jesus. 3 quick points before I close. How do you develop high capacity? 1, discover and appreciate your potentials and your passion. Tell your friend, discover and appreciate your potentials and your passion. Time will fail me to explain because of. But what does that mean? What are your potentials? Your potentials, I refer to your talents, your spiritual gifts. These two things especially. Because God gives you these things in preparation for what He has wired you for. There are spiritual gifts that the Holy Ghost does not just pour spiritual gift because you are praying about it. It is how you are wired. There's an assignment He has for you. There's a life and a plan that you must fulfill. So spiritual gifts are given to you to execute a life plan. So when you hear Apostle Paul say convert the more spiritual, he's only saying convert to the extent that it conforms to who God had made you to be. Instead of you to ask God for the gift of wisdom, you're asking God for the gift of miracle worker, and you're inside the bank as an administrator. You just wake up and place hand on the MD, you just fall on the ground. Would that pay your salary? But by the time an unusual word of wisdom comes upon you, that you can unravel mysteries that people can't even understand, financial mysteries, financial solutions, administrative solutions, then something is happening with you. God deposits things in your lives according to His plan for you. And what you need to do is to discover. And when you finish discovering, I use the second word, appreciate it. Because some of us will say, hey, I don't suffer. Maybe my mate God give miracle. Me, I just did they do helps. What kind of spiritual gift is this one? God, I better take this one away from me. Give me a miracle. Let me do miracle. Let me be like my brother. Sometimes it's like that. They say sometimes, imagine you now. This is my head. You're seeing my head, seeing my hands, seeing my leg moving. Don't forget that there's intestine inside that is not seen. There's a pancreas that is not seen. Is that not so? There are small tissues that you don't see. In fact, there is what we call anus. Can you be one like that? If God finished creating people, all of us inside this one eye, this one a nose, God just make you anus. So God, why now? Why? Take it out of all these people. Out of what have I done to you? But is that part not important? Can you survive without it? So when you discover how God has wired you, the next thing is to appreciate it. I told you my story yesterday. There was a time my desire was to finance the gospel. I wanted to be an engineer, make money, support pastors, support the gospel. But that's not what God wants for me. It doesn't matter how passionate, you need to enjoy what God has created you for. So when I sit with my friends today and they are throwing around millions, I'm not moved at all. I'm not. If I need millions for my work, God provides it. I have seen millions for projects. It's not in my bank, but I've controlled millions as well. But even if I'm not moved by those who have 30 billion in their account, because we're not on the same track. I pray for them and I ask that their businesses succeed. But in my Father's business, I cannot be found wanting. You must be able to discover and appreciate your potentials, your talents, and of course your spiritual giftings. And then the next one says your passion, what you're willing to live for and to die for. Paul Botwick wrote a book and said that our generation, he referred to generation X and generation Y. He said that generation that is emerging, he has not even talked about generation Z when he wrote that, and millennials. But he said that generation is a passionless generation. They have nothing to live for and nothing to die for. You know how I know it's true? Ask a typical young person sometimes, say, what do you want to do? He said, any job will just pay, anyone will just get money. Are you looking for a job? You are finished school, yeah. So what do you want to do? Anything now, anything, anyone. Make I just find money. And then when they even enter a company, inside their new company, they are still applying to other company. They're looking for which one will pay me better. Oh boy, you know where they happen. You know where more money they are just moving, drifting by money. They have nothing to live for and nothing to die for. But not you. You will find your passion and you will fulfill your passion in the name of Jesus. If I continue the way I'm going, I see I can keep you here longer, and then before I lose my congregation. The 2 points I will make, I will not explain, but I'll just leave them. I wish I could explain because it's very important. But the point 2 is that you need to draft and diligently pursue an agile development plan. Say together with me, draft and diligently pursue an agile development plan. Brian Tracy said something in one of his books that is only 3% of adults that have their goals written out. And he says these 3% of adults achieve 10 times more than people of equal capacity and exposure. And if I do a simple test here, how many of you have your life goal written out in pen? You've written it out. If we do that, it may still be like the 3%. And if you have not taken the pains to do that, I can tell you that high achievement is far. You will achieve, but not that kind that God is telling us in this meeting. High achievers are people who take the pains to draft and diligently pursue an agile development plan. They know what they're looking for. And I tell people about master. I promise I'm not going to explain. Let me leave that. The last point is you need to connect and stay connected to the Holy Spirit. Say it together, connect and stay connected to the Holy Spirit. Say it together, connect and stay connected to the Holy Spirit. So having gotten your agile life and you're pursuing it and you're developing, having discovered your gifts and your talents, brothers, I tell you, without the power of the Holy Spirit, you know, I write, but I discovered that when I'm out of tune with the Holy Spirit, writing becomes a struggle. That's when I discovered that this writing, the Holy Spirit animates my gift. He animates my skill. He animates my talent. He animates my passion. The reason why it moves forward, I can stand out among my equals, because there's an energy moving me. That kind of energy that rose Jesus from the grave, when it's at work on your inside, it has the capacity to set you above your equals. Our generation is almost losing the person of the Holy Spirit. Some people don't even believe he exists again, because there's no generation that has castigated the gift of God like our generation. And you know what you despise, you cannot attract. But there's what we call the Holy Spirit. There's a person called the Holy Spirit. Ask our fathers in the faith, they will tell you how you help them. There are things you just come into do, you don't understand what's going on, but God just takes over. He just takes over your hands. You need to stay connected to. If you have not connected at all, tonight is that opportunity for you to connect to him. As you find your place and as you develop your plan, don't forget that without the Holy Spirit you can do nothing. The definition of nothing is not actually tangibility. It means that every tangible thing you achieve amounts to what? Nothing. 100 times 0 is what? 0. 1 million times 0 is what? The multiplier of your success is the Holy Spirit. Without him, you have a 0 multiplier. And when you multiply all your achievements in life, it becomes what? 0. That's nothing. But out of us today, God is raising giants. High capacity young people. High capacity for high achievement. Can we please rise up? And as we look up to the Lord tonight, to help us to achieve high. Well, we are